Hello, everyone. Welcome to another fantastic episode of For the Fans podcast, where we are here to discuss what is the last week of the regular season.
Yeah, how do you feel
Yeah.
about that?
Happy that's over.
Yeah, it's been kind of a nightmarish year for the three of us who
Hello,
are on here
everyone.
right now. It's been rough. It's been kind of a nightmare for Tyler too, and he's not on yet.
Yeah.
Last week of the regular
I'm
season.
glad
Oh
it's
man.
gonna be over soon.
Yeah, how do you feel?
Yeah.
Hey, Matt. Currently, right
Yes.
now, Patriots got a good shot at the number one overall pick. You guys gonna take Shador Sanders?
right now.
I hope not. I hope they realize that Drake May is their guy for the next couple years.
Yeah, I
Give
figured as
him
much.
weapons and get him some linemen for protection. He will do just fine.
I
Like, the
have
way he
seen
played this season.
some interesting
on.
stuff with the Patriots, discussions of what they're going to do.
You think if you do get a number one overall pick, going with Travis Hunter?
Honestly, I wouldn't touch any of them
Here's what
Yeah.
I have heard, which
either.
this is very interesting. So, the Patriots would trade away Drake May. They would get into the top. They would have two top five picks. They would take Shador and Travis Hunter, and that would bring
then
Coach
Coach
Prime to
Yeah,
New England
I've
as a
seen
coach as
that.
well.
That's a parody film. Don't believe that.
I'm just saying. I doubt that will happen, but imagine the chaos. Wow, Tyler actually somewhat on time.
Oh, and he mutes himself
Yeah.
immediately. Probably keeps cussing you out.
McKay's having some issues, man.
I'm like, sadly, I cannot unmute him, but I can server mute him, which is funny.
Right. Yeah, on the topic, I think even though he had a really rough game, I think Ashton Genty wouldn't be a terrible pick for the Patriots.
For sure. And the thing is how early do you take a running back, though?
Right.
I mean, the real thing is, what do you even really grab in this draft? Because I don't watch a lot of college, but it seems like it's kind of lineman or defensive heavy.
Mostly
Yeah.
defense.
Mostly defense, yeah. I mean, yes, there are some bright spots. The quarterback class is not all that impressive. I'm not
No.
impressed by Shador Sanders or Cam Ward or Dylan Gabriel all that much.
They're the off year people.
Yeah, exactly.
The
I
only
think it'll
reason
be more.
the only reason they're declaring for the draft is so they could get drafted high just because they're a quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I know,
outside
very
of that,
quarterback weak draft.
outside of that, we really haven't seen. I mean, Travis Hunter. I feel like that one he can be good, but it's sort of I'll believe it when I see it sort of thing of once he's playing out of Coach Prime's system and can he really play on both sides of the ball in the NFL? I don't think so. And really, just outside of that, we talked about the running backs. Ashton Janty is a good one. If not Ashton Janty, the next running back up is probably Cam Scadaboo. If any of you guys saw that Peach Bowl game today, that was wild. But that's probably about it.
I mean, I will say there has been a player since 2000 that has done at least 40 snaps on both offense and defense through at least 3 games. So it's possible.
Who is that player?
Chargers fullback / defensive lineman Scott Matlock.
Hmm.
But I mean, it made sense. Normally fullbacks are like bigger and bulky just to kind of dive through everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, certainly possible. I will give it to them. I mean, I'm not in full agreement. Personal opinion here. I'm not in full agreement that Travis Hunter deserves the Heisman. But I will say it is impressive that he, at the level that he can play on both sides of the ball. Because you talk about this guy here who can play on both sides, but again, I say who. You know what I mean?
I mean, apparently Deion Sanders played both defensive back and wide receiver.
Mm-hmm. There's talent that you have right there.
And I mean, we're even talking about Sanders. Travis Hunter's coming from Deion Sanders' system and probably taught to him a lot about playing both sides.
Probably. Things changed since then, though, so I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
It's something I want to see. I kind of want to see it happen just because it'd be a weird thing, but also a very unique thing because you can kind of cover two positions with one player.
Mm-hmm.
And if he's,
Well,
I would say if he's like,
then
If he's
Send him to
good,
the Browns.
if he's like good, not great, that'd be phenomenal.
Yeah, I could see that.
So what you're saying is, for Travis Hunter, his best pick to be picked up would be the Jags, right?
Yeah,
Because they just suck on both sides of the ball, so might as well. Let him play
you are
both
correct.
sides.
And sad thing is, so many people have mocked Travis Hunter to the Jaguars.
see that. Oh, you guys are picking kind of early, aren't you?
And right now we're sitting at number 5. I think we're almost guaranteed number 5.
It's 50-50.
Yeah. Issue is there's a lot of teams with the same record right now.
Yeah. This
You're either
weekend's gonna
gonna.
determine a
I feel
lot.
like the Jags will either get 5, 6, or 7, depending
I mean,
on how this weekend's.
it's possible we could even go up to 4.
Yeah.
I'm like, if the Bears win, if the Panthers win,
That's not happening, either of them.
if the Raiders win,
Maybe. Probably not.
if
Yeah.
the Jets win.
And if the Dolphins trying to compete for a playoff spot.
Right.
If the Patriots win, they drop out of the number 1, and then I think the number 1 goes to Tennessee, which I don't know how I feel about that. I kind of hope. Here's the thing, I might be okay with that because Tennessee could probably grab Shedeur Sanders, and then I can just laugh at them.
That's true, actually.
I'm okay with that. Just take it out of the equation because I'm fearful. Because again, I said this at the beginning of last year too. I'm afraid that the Patriots will screw up and they'll draft like Shedeur Sanders in the first round.
Oh
And
yeah,
it's just like, really? Why? Why are we doing this?
like 8 out of 10 of the mock drafts I've seen so far is saying Shedeur Sanders goes 1 or 2 overall.
And see, I don't like that. I mean, yes, I know typically you really do take a quarterback first, with your top pick, but like, don't like it.
Oh, I need to look at like all the number 1 draft picks for that couple of years.
Yeah, if we're going off of where it's at right now, let's say for example, let's take a look at our top 10. Maybe even go beyond top 10, and we just take a look at teams that you need a quarterback, right? Really, what we're seeing, the two biggest needs are definitely we're thinking for Tennessee and for the Giants, and also I'd like to throw out there that I think the Raiders are in desperate need of a quarterback as well.
Oh yeah.
Question
I
is,
should go free agency with the
you
Raiders.
think the Raiders should?
Yeah, or pick up the Texan quarterback, Ewers or however the crap you say his last name.
Yeah, Quinn Ewers. Problem with Ewers is he may stay one more year. Not with Texas, but he may stay in college one more year. He's got one more year of eligibility.
Also, the last non-quarterback taken was in 2022 by the Jaguars, but that's because they got Trevor Lawrence the year before, so I'm going to discount that year because if you're grabbing quarterback first overall 2 years in a row, then something's really wrong.
And if you remember correctly, that year of the draft, the quarterbacks that went in the first round it was just Kenny Pickett. I think he was the only one.
And then going after that, we go all the way to 2017 where we have Myles Garrett.
Right, which, Browns already had Baker Mayfield. Should have kept Baker Mayfield around, too. And we're talking about 2017. We're talking about 2017 because that's when the Bears, for some reason, drafted up to draft Mitchell Trubisky. So.
Yeah, you could have had Patrick Mahomes instead.
Yeah, its problem is, though, is if Patrick Mahomes went to the Bears and Mitchell Trubisky went to the Chiefs, we'd be talking about how Trubisky's the GOAT now.
No, we wouldn't. He's pretty bad.
Trubisky does have GOAT talent. I mean, come on, that game between the Bills and the Jets. I mean, Trubisky scored a nice touchdown. Josh Allen scored a lot of nice touchdowns. Tyrod Taylor scored a touchdown. You want to know what quarterback didn't score a touchdown in that game?
Trubisky was in the Pro Bowl one year.
That's right. I'd just like to point out that Aaron Rodgers was the only QB in that game who didn't score a touchdown. Oh man,
Well, Aaron's overrated, so
extremely, extremely. Well, we have to talk about him a little bit here, so we will go into that matchup here. But we have,
McKay,
let's see,
your mic is like dying.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, your mic's about to die.
what the heck?
Yeah. It sounded like as you were talking, you were walking further and further away.
Can you hear me now?
Not
Same
really.
What the heck? So weird.
And this, my friends, is why you investigate or invest in a headset or a good computer.
Si, senor. Headset is great.
Sorry, headset. My computer's much.
Yeah.
McKay, do you have a headset or do you use the built-in speaker on your laptop?
I have a headset. I just don't use it.
So,
Yeah.
he answers the question.
Yeah. By default, we already know the answer.
Oh my goodness.
Alright, you sound much better.
Yeah.
That was weird. I don't know what that was. That.
Alright, as you were saying though.
Anyway, yeah, if you can hear me a little bit better here, we got 5 games that we do need to talk about that have potential playoff implications. A quick little reminder too, Shane, just before we jump into that, going back on the mic thing. This was the only episode thus far this season where I've ever had mic issues, so we were doing okay.
Yours is really bad tonight.
It's struggling.
All right, I'm gonna drop out here for a second. You guys kick this off, and we'll have me come
we'll kick
back
it
in and
off.
see if it gets any better.
Oh, boy.
Perfect.
McKay will figure this out. I believe in him. I have faith.
I do.
Alright,
Yeah.
so we want to start off with our wows and woes because we've been struggling to get that kicked off. So
Right.
what stood out to you guys last week?
All the fights. I was so with it.
There was a lot of chippiness this past week, and for
Yeah.
why? Like most of the playoff field was already set.
Right, exactly. That's why I was like, I liked it because you could just tell it was either teams that are just been frustrated all season that are just like, the heck with it. It's not like we're going to the playoffs and they just fight.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
yeah.
for me, some of the biggest highlights were the double overtime, or not double overtime games, but the two teams that went in, or the two games that went into overtime, and then the Bears and Seahawks below 10-point game.
Oh my gosh, what was that?
I don't know. You tell us. You're the Bears fan.
Do you
Right.
think I watched that game? I'm so embarrassed.
Oh, you watched it.
I didn't actually. Full
Oh,
disclosure, did not watch that one. I said there's no way.
oh man, it was like almost like watching a Chiefs game. Below 30. It was weird.
Yeah, right?
Except there was a lot less cheating involved.
Crazy.
Play.
But I mean, the Bengals won in overtime, which now the Broncos are in a do or die situation this week. But I feel like they walked into a good do or die situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree.
True.
And the Commanders, they won and secured their playoff spot, if I recall. Yep, they secured it.
Yeah.
So the
And how
NFC,
does
we basically,
Tyler feel about that?
I was like, sad thing is, in the NFC, we have every playoff spot figured out except for who's going to represent the NFC South.
Yeah.
Sort of. Well, yes, we do have every playoffs figured out, but I think the wild card seeds could still be shaken up a little bit.
Okay, we need to get you a new headset.
Yep. It didn't get much.
Gosh.
It didn't
It's
get much better.
bad.
I don't understand what's going on tonight here.
Yeah.
Have you updated your audio drivers?
Oh yeah, kind of have to with my work.
I'm happy that you at least know how to do that, because there's a lot of people that don't know how to do that.
Yeah,
Yup.
so you go to search, update drivers, done. That's the easy way.
There's
True.
more complicated ways if your drivers are having issues, but we won't
Yeah.
discuss that.
Yeah, that'll be for one of like the little comments, and you can just respond to it.
I know how to do it.
Not saying like any viewers, they're like, oh, I don't know how to do that. Well, send it.
No, just look up a short video. It takes like 2 minutes to figure out.
Right. Oh man, but
But Tyler, how do you feel about the Falcons losing in overtime and now have to win, and I believe the Buccaneers have to lose along with a few other things for them to make the playoffs? Well,
No comment.
I guess he's still dead. I saw him unmute himself, so I'm like, oh, he might be alive.
Yeah. Nope. Yeah. No comment. He doesn't want to talk about it. It's okay. I
There's too
understand.
much pain. There's too much pain behind it.
Right. Oh, goodness gracious.
Speaking about that, though, just going into our matchups here that do have to deal with, playoff implications. Let's kick it off with Bengals and Steelers here, because I feel like this one could actually be pretty entertaining. Because, Steelers, they want to try and get a shot here at maybe getting the division. It's not likely, but then the Bengals are fighting for a playoff spot here. I think this might be one of the most interesting games of the year. Or not for this year, but of this week.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I think the Bengals can do it, because I'm very curious if the Steelers will try to fight that hard to get their seed, or
Right.
if they're going to try to rest but they also don't want another divisional opponent to sneak into the playoffs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's true.
that is a very good point.
Well, and the thing is too, like I think the Steelers, they relatively don't have a lot of people on IR. Like they're pretty healthy, so it's like, do you really fight for that spot and risk injury to JJ Watt gets injured again and then he's out for, a couple weeks or, you know, Pickens get hurt. There's tons of factors. I feel like they should let off a little bit. Just kind of let it happen. But at the same time, does everyone really want the Bengals in the playoffs with this late surge in the season?
Yeah, they can knock out the Chiefs.
You know,
Yes.
like that's something that they have to do. It's like, do they really try to keep them out or just let them in?
Okay, so I need to break down the playoff seeding in my head. So we got Chiefs at 1, Bills at 2. We know those. The Texans are slotted in at 4, and either the Ravens or the Steelers will be at 3.
Most likely the Ravens is what we're predicting.
Yes. So most likely the Bengals would have to sneak in at number 7, meaning that they would immediately face the Bills, which would be interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I trust the Bengals or the Bills more to defeat the Chiefs, so it would have to be one of them. So I'm fine with the Bengals losing and just trusting in the Bills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for this week, I will say the Bengals, I think, will beat the Steelers.
Yeah, I think so too.
They're playing well enough that I see it happening.
And matchup monster, we're thinking someone like Joe Burrow, who has actually inserted himself into the MVP conversation last minute.
I mean,
Yeah.
he's had, 4 weeks in a row where he's thrown for almost 300 yards and 5 touchdowns each week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, that's worthy in my mind.
Yeah, and on the year, he's sitting he's sitting up there with yardage and TDs. Like he has more yards and TDs than Lamar Jackson.
I mean, the only one that I really feel like shouldn't be in the MVP category is Patrick Mahomes, honestly.
I swear, it's just the NFL.
It's because the Chiefs have a good record right now.
Yeah, it seems to be the defining narrative here. It's just I don't think he's going to get picked though. You know what I mean? Considering Josh Allen and Saquon Barkley have both on paper and on show, been more impressive, I don't think Mahomes will get it this year.
I agree.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
It'd be wonderful.
How about Chiefs going into that? How about Chiefs and Broncos? How do we think that one's going to shake out?
I think the Broncos are walking into a easy game. The Chiefs are pulling all of their starters to let them rest because whether they win or lose, nothing's really going to change and impact them. So
Mhm.
they're just gonna pull everyone. The Broncos, if the Broncos can't beat a team full of second and third stringers, then there's something wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think the Broncos got this easy. And it will have them getting their wild card seed.
Yeah. They got a
Can
lot
you
to play
guys
for.
hear me?
Yes.
We can.
Yeah.
Hey, there we go. I was talking for so long, and I was like, man, you jerks, just ignoring everything I say that's so full of wisdom. And after a while, you guys were like, oh, I guess he has no comment. And I was like, no, my comments are awesome.
Oh, wow. Wisdom from a Falcons fan. I never thought I'd hear the day.
I know. I know.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry,
Usually
I'm back.
they
Go
do
ahead.
a lot of talking at the beginning, and then towards the end they're quiet. But that's just from my experience.
So funny.
Ah, see, he is a Falcons fan. No response.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Tapers out, you know.
That was cold
Exactly.
blood.
Yeah, I agree though. If the Broncos can't win this game, be pretty sad.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be wild if it went the other way.
And it guarantees that they'll be in the playoffs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
The
think
win.
so.
Yeah, I'm sure they're gonna.
I
Unlike,
think it's a win.
yeah, they win, they're in.
Which, if you look at it from the point of view,
It's a couple factors.
if you look at it from the point of view of the Chiefs too, the Chiefs like on the backside maybe looking at this too and saying to ourselves, it's a division rival, and yes, we could potentially, depending on how they do, have to play them a third time. But they'll take their chances with that over how Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase have been playing recently with the Bengals.
Yeah,
True.
the Bengals need a lot. The Bengals need to win. They need the Broncos to lose, and they need the Dolphins to lose. And the Dolphins, because they're the only other team that can get in, they need to win, and then they need the Broncos to lose.
Yeah. It's just a simpler thing if just the Broncos just win.
Yep, Broncos win. AFC is all figured out, except
Yep.
for who's representing the AFC North. But I'm not gonna worry too much about that. We know the playoffs.
And like we said, the NFC the wild card situation is what gets interesting because the NFC North 1 seed is still up for grabs, and then that determines where the Commanders and Packers potentially shake out in the 6th and 7th seeds.
Yeah, I was like,
Right.
and all the wild cards are selected for the NFC. We're just waiting on the NFC.
NFC South, yeah.
I will throw a wrench in my pick though, because I picked Broncos. It could happen. See Carson Wentz ball out with backups to get a job elsewhere next season.
Ooh, that'd be
Yeah,
interesting.
Like
Could.
with the
He could be like, "Hey,
Panthers.
I just came back off of the bench. Look what I can do." And then obviously there's more than a few QB positions of need, especially with a light QB draft.
Yeah.
I can
No
see that
kidding.
happening.
But I always feel like there's at least one quarterback that comes in and then just bounces back and they stay for a little bit. We had Geno Smith a while back. This year we had Sam Darnold. I don't think Carson Wentz is going to be able to do it.
Right, but that's just some weird thing that could possibly happen.
True.
So, but other than that, I think we're pretty unanimous on the Broncos pick. So,
Yeah.
I think we almost agree across the board except for maybe one game.
yeah. It's true. But I guess we can move on to the next one. The next interesting game. That was-
Dolphins versus Jets, which
You know,
did Rodgers say that he was benching himself for this game, or they just decided to bench himself for last week?
He decided to bench himself for last week.
Okay, I didn't know if he was saying that he was gonna just bench himself for this week as well, but
I don't think so. I mean, you never know with
I mean,
him.
the plan is that after this season, the Jets are not going to continue forward with Rodgers and Adams.
well, there's
That's
one
not a
talks that
guarantee.
He'll retire.
True.
That he's just done. Which
You have 4 scenarios that would potentially work here. The retirement is one, the moving on from him and Devontae is another, which I see as probably the least likely scenario.
yeah,
The
they'll
other
keep
one
him
is
on
he
Davenport.
continues to start, and then the other one is that they draft a quarterback and he mentors them.
I don't like that last option. I think that's a bad idea.
I don't, but
I
that's
mean, look,
I do.
look what happened with Jordan
Terrible
Love.
idea.
Look what happened with
But the
Jordan
thing is,
Love.
he didn't mentor Jordan Love really probably all that well because he got blindsided by Packers management when Jordan Love was drafted. Here's what Rodgers himself has said he'd be open to mentoring a QB with the Jets this time.
Yeah, because he
That is
saw.
from his own mouth.
Yeah, but I mean, do we really trust the crazy person who runs and hides in the dark?
That's true.
Yeah.
You guys watch any of that documentary on Netflix about him?
No,
It's wild.
I refuse.
It's wild. Dude, he takes so many drugs in the off season, like, so, yeah,
Yeah.
he's whacked.
He's wild.
So, but I think in this game though, I think we're all pretty unanimous. I think the Dolphins are just gonna take it. I feel like there's like no fight with the Jets. They're just there. They
Yeah.
want to act cool, but they just suck. Plus that
Yep.
video that I'm pretty sure got sent around between us with them with their boombox walking down the tunnel, and then Josh Allen just sitting there smiling.
Yeah. That was funny.
That was great. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's how it's gonna go down. Is just
Yeah. But,
yeah, that one's easy enough.
oh yeah. Now we move on to the exciting game of the week.
The one that's
Ish.
selling for what, $351 per ticket?
As low as. Yes.
Yeah, that's for the nosebleed.
Oh yeah.
Gotta love it when it's as low as.
Yep.
I mean, I get it because this is going to be what decides the NFC North, and there's a lot riding on this game, and it determines so many things. We got the Vikings versus the Lions.
Yep.
And now, this one's going to be interesting because the Vikings, I don't think anyone expected them to do well, and here they are as a 14-2 team that still feels wrong to say.
Right.
But we also have the Lions, who had a surgence last year and have continued to ride high, and they're 14-2 this year despite all of their injuries.
Yeah, somehow their defense was still impressive last week, despite how crippled they are. I was impressed.
Like 21 injured people.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But does that show more? I had this thought too about the Lions. Like, does that really show more of the depth of the Lions, or does it show the environment that has been built there? That the
I'd say both.
entire team is built like, no, we're in. We want to win. Like, they're in on the motive. They're in with the coach. They're all together. Like, I'm impressed with the Lions.
I mean,
So,
I think I'm rooting for the Lions this year.
yeah.
Cat teams stick together.
Yeah. It's more
With that said, I do have the Lions winning this week, and I understand that the defense is really banged up, but their offense is pretty heavily intact for the most part. And I think it's going to come down to a shootout, and I think the Lions' offense could just be a little bit better than the Vikings' offense.
right.
Well, I would agree with that. More my thought process is the Vikings defense. I mean, I'd be happy to be perfectly wrong, considering at least for some of my fantasy championships, I need the Lions to ball out. Shout out, Tyler.
Yep.
Yeah,
I
I
didn't
looked
really-
I looked at one of our fantasy
I'm gonna
championships,
close
and I'm
the
like,
deal.
wow, if I did not get knocked out in the championship playoffs and was fighting for third place, I would have kicked everyone's butt.
Yeah, instead we've got Tyler, Mr. Fourth Place here, only won 4 games with a shot at the champ.
Woohoo!
See, I think I'm
Playing
more
when it
upset
matters.
because I'm literally looking at like the playoff, and I scored 389 points,
Yeah.
Dang.
and I'm just like,
That's-
wow. And I could have got broke 400 if I had 1 to 2 different players in.
That's fantasy for you.
Ugh.
Yep.
This is very sad.
Yeah, but even regardless, though, I've got the Vikings winning this game. I think they just got the system more set up to win it. But the Lions definitely need the 1 seed more than the Vikings do because the Lions need to rest up before the playoffs.
Right. Yeah. I could see that.
I definitely think the Lions have the stronger offense, but I think pretty much what McKay just said. The Vikings are a better altogether team. So I see this going the Vikings way, but I think it'll probably be the game of the week to watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Let's go to our last game here, which is really what's going to determine a lot of the NFC South Championship here. We're covering Buccaneers and Saints, but let me make sure I get this right here. Correct me if I'm wrong. If the Buccaneers do lose and the Falcons win, it'd be the Falcons who win the division, right?
Correct.
Just to throw it all out there, all of us are thinking the Buccaneers will get this win because the Saints are just a dumpster fire.
They are.
They really are.
Remember when they started off 2-0 and we thought that, wow, they were going to be a contending team?
I put them in like the top 10, and I feel deeply embarrassed by that.
Yeah, I fell off. But,
Yeah.
wow.
I mean, a lot of
So bad.
teams did.
True.
And a lot of teams we expected to fall off never did. Like
Yeah.
the Chiefs. I expected the Chiefs
Yeah.
to fall off.
I'll have you know I had the
Well,
Chiefs in
that's,
my top 3. Just want to point that out. And here they are.
Yeah, I did too, unfortunately.
It's nice when, you got all the weight off on your side, but that's fine.
So, let me ask you this. Is there any scenario in which you actually see the Saints winning? What would need to happen for the Saints to win?
Win this week?
Yep.
Rattler would have to play out of his mind.
I would say Kamara and Olave play out of their mind.
Yeah.
I think
I-
that makes sense.
Rattler would have to actually, throw the ball well.
True.
It would be interesting.
Turn is Rattler. I just don't see it happening.
I don't. Like, it's just
Yeah.
too much. Plus, Baker's a psychopath, so.
Jeez.
The dude is stone cold.
Yeah.
Can you imagine being a Browns fan right now? Like, I mean, like one of the coolest guys overall. You let him go, goes on next team, just dominates, just crazy.
Yeah.
I will say, because I feel like we haven't talked about this at all yet, and now that we have Tyler here, Tyler, how are you feeling about Michael Penix so far?
I am really excited about him. By no means do I think he's been perfect, but I mean, considering he's played 2 games in regular season of the NFL, I am really excited about what I'm seeing so far.
Okay.
I'm optimistic. I don't want to be racist here, but I expected him to be a little more mobile. And I brought that up to another group of friends, and they're like, "It's because he's black, isn't he?" I was like, "No, it's not. I just thought he was a little more mobile, having watched him in college. But he definitely likes to sit back a little bit more. But he's far more mobile than Kirk was, and so he's able to move around the pocket a little bit better and get out if he needs to, which Kirk wasn't able to, and that excites me. So.
Well, we'll say this instead. You thought that because there's all these comparisons to Michael Vick, who was very mobile. So,
And
And I'll say this: we
Yep.
also live in a day and age where it's very much you need to be a mobile quarterback to succeed now.
Right.
You know, I can't imagine a quarterback like Kirk Cousins ever going. I don't know. I keep hearing, "Oh, Kurt's just having a bad year. Just watch. Falcons are going to trade him. He's going to go off and play great next season." I feel like that's been said about Kirk for the last couple of seasons. And don't get me wrong, I was excited about him when he came to Atlanta. I had high hopes, but I just don't think he's mobile enough to go anywhere. He seems stuck. I think he's a smart player. I think he's a good guy. but I think he's moving on to the point where he's going to be back up the rest of his career.
I don't think he's gonna have much of his career left because he's very injury ridden.
Yeah, I agree. And he's managed to stay healthy behind a decent, I mean, I don't even want to say decent, an okay Falcons offensive line, but yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what's in his future. I gotta say, I have been super impressed. Whenever they show the sideline, it seems like he's sitting next to Michael Penix and they're always talking and looking over a tablet. So maybe he's giving him bad advice. I don't know. But it seems like he's sitting there trying to help the guy. And that I think that would be hard for me. My pride would come in and I'd be like, no, do it on your own, dude. But, he seems like a good enough guy that he's there and he's trying to help.
Yeah.
I mean, even Jaden Daniels got taught to by his. Who's the backup for the Commanders? Is it Flacco?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, Flacco even pulled Jaden Daniels to the side. He's like, hey, take a breath, do this. He's like, you can do this, blah, blah, blah. Jaden Daniels got up and pushed them to victory. So sometimes you need
No, it's not. It's Mariota.
that.
Flacco's the
See, I knew.
backup.
I was like, I don't think it's
that's
Joe
right.
Flacco.
Yeah.
But
That was just the
Mariota
only
and
name that came to
Flacco
mind.
are both ultimate backups, so I could see why we got them confused.
Yeah.
But they know that that's their role, right? I mean, they're there as backups. It's a little bit different, but
Yeah.
All right, let's get into our for the fun a little bit.
yeah, I was gonna say I'm really excited for this. So let's talk.
We have teams that we do need to cover here, so we might need to kind of almost blitz through it a little quickly here. We can't spend a ton of time on every single one here. So let's just kind of do a quick roundtable thoughts with some of these here. But this is going to be talking about head coaches changes for these teams or other changes that could follow in the future. Let's kick it off. We got the Jets first. We've touched on them a little bit already. Rex Ryan and Ron Rivera both linked to the interview with the Jets. Aaron Rodgers mentioned being a mentor to a QB for the Jets next season. What happens here? Is it just me? The Jets are one of these teams where it's like next year the ship's not going to get righted. Doesn't matter what you do.
No.
Right.
Which blows me away with some of the talent that they have on that team. Blows me away. It seems like all they need is a half decent quarterback, and I feel like if they could trade up, maybe get someone young in there, or better yet, go into the offseason and pick up someone who's floating around, who's got some decent talent, and get someone in there who's young and talented. I don't know who right off the top of my head, but I feel like there's got to be some decent options that they could pick up and put together a halfway decent season and slowly build back. They don't have to start from scratch.
I think they need a competitor. Either have that be the head coach, a quarterback, like a coordinator, someone to come in and light a fire underneath them.
Yeah,
Make them want to compete. That is their biggest issue.
I'd agree with that.
So, if it's Rex Ryan or Ron Rivera to come in and get your crap together, we are competing next year, and have everyone get on board. One, Aaron Rodgers is not the guy to do that. So I feel like they have to get rid of him.
Yeah.
So, that's my 2 cents worth.
I think that's fair.
I feel like Rex Ryan would probably do a better job of those two, but just my two cents. But what about Cleveland?
Yeah. The Browns, Deshaun Watson, they're gonna have to get that money figured out.
Yeah, we're just
like that's just it's gotta happen.
Yeah.
Where is Chubbs?
He's still there and he's playing.
I'll say he's there. But...
Sorry, I meant where is his contract?
Still another year, I think.
Yeah, it could be. Let's check it out.
Yeah, he signed a 5-year.
Yeah, so you got a solid running back.
It says they significantly reduced his salary in 2024. Jeez. I'd be playing half-hearted too.
Yeah.
That would be interesting. I feel like Chubb is similar to Oh my gosh, why did his name just leave my mind? Ravens running back right now.
Derrick
Help
Henry.
me. Yes, thank you, Derrick Henry. I feel like both of them are good, little bit older bruisers that could both do pretty good. Obviously, Derrick Henry, I think is older, but I think
Chubb
Watson's
is not
final.
with the Browns.
What?
What? Nick
Yeah.
Chubb is with the Browns.
You're looking at Bradley Chubb, aren't you?
No.
Or are you thinking of Chubba
Like-
Hubbard?
There's no Chubb on the Browns
Yes, there is.
roster.
Nick Chubb, dude.
Okay, there he is. Okay, I was like, he's not on the depth chart. I'm like scrolling. I'm like,
I was
there-
like, he
where
is
did
on
he
one of my
go?
fantasy teams. He was on IR
Okay.
most of this year.
He's on IR again. That's why he's at the
Yeah.
very bottom of the list. I was like, dude, there's no way he's not there.
Yeah,
Like,
so Watson's
scrolling
contract
through.
is set to expire
oh,
after
jeez.
2026.
I feel like that's fair. I've been happy with Deshaun Watson.
And who knows? This might be his upcoming year where he just stays healthy, balls out to get more money.
No,
So
no. At this point, he's taking enough from the franchise. You got to cut him, and he would be getting. Yeah, I don't think he would be worth it.
Yeah, definitely not.
but
Yeah,
He's
that's
been
a
injured
sinking
for
ship
half-
that needs to.
He's been injured most of the time that he's been
Darn.
there, and the time he hasn't been injured, he's done horribly, and he's been benched multiple times. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So would it be fair to say with this one for the fun that it's just a dumpster fire? Cleveland's
Dumpster
got
fire.
problems.
Yeah.
Honestly, the saddest thing is this is one of the teams that I think could really, of all the teams, use just a burn and restart. Right.
And to your point, Tyler, if you go ahead and finish what you're saying, and I'll bring up what my thought is behind that.
No, that was pretty much it. Just good heavens, they could use a. I mean, they have some young talent that we're starting to see come out as game changes, but I'll leave it at that.
What I was going to add to that is with the rebuild coming along, which we think is what is needed. How long will it be before Myles Garrett gets traded?
True story.
If
Does
they
he
go
wanna
full
keep him
rebuild,
hurry?
we could possibly see it this year. But he is the cornerstone of that team right now.
Oh
Yeah. Yep.
So
Agreed. Looks like the next one we've got is Raiders, but
another cornerstone player that's on this team that has said numerous times, Crosby, that he will stay, but will he if they don't make some changes?
I think he's been faltering a little bit on that. He's like, I might actually leave.
Yeah, like,
The Raiders need an answer at QB, and clearly Antonio Pierce has not been the answer as far as the coaches when it comes to wins. Yeah, does he have the respect of his locker room? Sure, but
he could be a
that's
good
about it.
assistant or a coordinator and stay and then coach.
it's what he has to do because he can't go back to college football.
Right.
He's in
Yeah.
he's in the same boat as Jim Harbaugh right now,
Yeah.
where he
I
would
think he should.
basically get he'd have to deal with the allegations and just not be allowed to do things.
Yeah. So, yeah, they got to get a QB. God forbid it's going to be Shedeur Sanders, but that's not the answer.
In Vegas?
I hope they don't know.
But
think
then you
that's
just
the
bring
answer.
Dion to Vegas.
Yeah, that's not the answer either. That is the let's get as many people in the door ticket answer.
I mean,
Matt,
Vegas kind of needs that as well.
I was gonna say, Matt, that didn't they do that when they technically brought on Antonio Brown and then he left? That was just to get tickets, and it totally backfired. It's totally a Vegas move.
Yeah, that's true.
A lot of
yeah.
the people in Vegas I have talked to do not like the Raiders, so
Yeah,
really,
they need an
Mhm.
offense. Yeah,
is it just because they've sucked since they moved there?
no, it's a lot of things.
it's what brings to the city is what the issue is.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, but
It's a lot
Here or there.
coming from Las Vegas. Good heavens.
Yeah,
Yeah.
how's the house gonna win when their team sucks?
What's that joke from that flight attendant flying into Harry Reid Airport? Hey, we're gonna pass over Raider Stadium, and don't worry if there's ever a tornado warning there or something like that. Go into the stadium because there will never be a touchdown there.
Yeah. So, then sum it up: Raiders need offense.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Sum
Hey,
up.
Jaguars.
Yeah.
The other dumpster fire.
Here's the thing, I think Jaguars have good pieces in place, but they need a new front office and they need a new coach. And I think it's very likely that we see that. And one of the big talks right now is that Ben Johnson, the Lions' current offensive coordinator, really wants to go head coaching job and he wants to do the play calling, and everything's kind of lining up with the Jaguars where they have a good quarterback, they have a really good rookie wide receiver, they have good pieces. He can come in, do the play calling, and have that offense flying high.
This is one of the teams that I have more hope for out of this list
Hooray!
here.
There's hope again.
Yeah, I feel like they could right the ship this next season. Does that guarantee a playoff berth? No. Will it be better? Yeah, I think it would be.
It's been 15 years since I've had hope.
Yeah, join the club.
I had hope in 2017, but then the Patriots cheated.
Oh,
Nah.
I had hope for 2018, but then the double doink happened.
I know, McKay, we could have had a Jaguars-Bears Super Bowl that year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
fat
right.
chance.
Yeah, right.
That would be the most interesting, dumbest Super Bowl in a long time.
Now you're just trying to throw things onto the wall and make it stick.
Hey, my team's never been to a Super Bowl in my lifetime. I need something.
Yeah, don't know if they ever will.
Yeah.
At this rate.
This
Yeah,
rate.
it's not looking good. Well, we'll see what happens. Maybe it's Ben Johnson. Maybe things will change.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So going over to your division rival, the Tennessee Titans. Boy, that rebuild is going to keep going here. Will Levis will not be the answer. Shocker.
The mailman is in it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they got a top draft pick. Do they go for Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders? Maybe.
Yes. I feel like they are dumb enough to grab Shedeur.
What if Travis Hunter goes first?
Cool. They
Any
still have a
chance
bad
of that?
quarterback.
Yeah, the thing is Tennessee needs a QB, and I mean I don't. I think it depends on what happens with the Patriots, obviously in this next week. But I feel like Tennessee's probably looking at going number 2, and if that does happen, then you will have someone like the Patriots taking Travis Hunter first overall.
Yeah. If I had to pick my poison out of those two candidates, I would rather have Travis Hunter.
I would
You don't
hope
think
so.
either of them, but
I mean,
If I-
there's a lot of teams picking like the top 10 that need a quarterback. There's
See,
probably,
but I think
there's probably only
sorry,
two
go
that
ahead.
don't need it, which is the Jaguars and the Bears, because we got. Oh no, 3. The Patriots don't need a quarterback, in my opinion, but I know people have
really,
talked about it.
one of the others don't really either. If you were to look at it, when I was looking at the mock draft, it really is the Giants, the Raiders, and the Titans.
Yep.
You don't think the Browns need a new quarterback?
They're going to restructure Deshaun Watson's contract. Do they need a new one? Yes, but are they going to do it? No.
And we got the Panthers, which they'll probably stick with Bryce Young for another
Yeah.
year.
Tennessee could honestly be wild and stick with Will Levis. I don't think they will, but they could do it.
Like the Raiders could use a new quarterback. The Jets probably gonna go after a new quarterback.
Yeah.
You look at those top ones there, yeah. If it was the Patriots picking number one overall, they're going to look at Travis Hunter. It's probably either a wide receiver if they don't go quarterback for the Titans. The Browns, if they're not moving up from quarterback, they're going to need an offensive line. Giants, they need a QB. Jaguars, you need O-line or you need secondary.
We need O-line and wide receiver.
Oh, okay. All right, wide
Because-
receiver. Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
Like we have Brian Thomas, and then we have Kirk, who's I think his contract expires this year. Then we have Gabe Davis, who's not doing great, and then we have Parker Washington, who, in all honesty, some people love him, but he's really just a wide receiver 3 or 4.
Yeah. Moving on from that, you've got Carolina. They need defense. Jets, honestly, even more so than quarterback. I know Aaron Rodgers is the answer, but they're probably looking more at building up the defense or the offensive line.
Yeah.
QB is needed for the Raiders. Offensive line is desperately needed in Chicago. And then outside of that, probably New Orleans probably needs another wide receiver. That's your top 10 as of right now.
Right.
What are the chances, do you think, of someone trading up to number 1 for that pick?
For that Travis Hunter pick?
Yeah.
I could see it happening.
I
Or
could too. Travis Hunter's going to go with Nick Shador.
I was like, for Shador, no. For Travis Hunter, maybe, but I still wouldn't do it unless I was like picking within the top 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So who do you think is the most likely to trade up?
Or who though?
Raiders.
I would say maybe the Titans, if anything.
I'd say the Raiders find a way to do it to try and get their QB.
Yeah.
So Raiders trade 8 up to what? Maybe 2?
Maybe 2.
Well, in this draft class, there's a lot of top end linemen
Mm-hmm.
that
Yeah.
if you were a smart, front office, I would be going after like the teams that need a quarterback. Get a solid line first, and then take your chances next year at whoever will come out of the woodwork for, quarterback. Because I feel like this next year, 2025, is terrible quarterback. 2026 is kind of the same. I think 2027 is going to be a huge QB battle.
Who comes in 27?
Archie Manning.
Yeah, that's true.
That's going to be huge.
There will be a fight for that. That's true.
We'll
Which
be
I'm
scrambling
interested to
for
see
him.
because I feel like part of the reason Eli Manning went so high was because of he was tied to Archie and Peyton Manning.
Yeah, but here's the difference, Shane. I don't know if you've been seeing this. Arch can run.
Yeah,
Oh no, I've seen a little bit.
he
Yeah.
can play quarterback, but if he can develop in the next couple of years into a throwing mobile quarterback, be kind of like Lamar or Allen, he's 100% guaranteed first round.
And I think that's Texas's plan. I think they want to move on from Quinn Ewers this year, whether he goes into the portal, as a late transfer, or he does go to the NFL.
Right. Yeah. So that's, if I was some of these teams, you're not going to near attention the next couple of years. So how about you get ready for a good quarterback?
Yeah.
If you want to talk about the whole sandbagging thing, crap, the Raiders could sandbag until that year and then draft him. The Giants could do the same thing.
That's an insanely long game, though, that a lot of owners won't have the patience for, though, is the thing. That's another factor that we always have to throw in here, too, is how involved is the owner? Because sometimes the owner likes to stick his fingers in there and create a giant mess because he wants control. Biggest example of that is Jerry Jones, but you have others who absolutely do that the same way. When you don't have owners that are overly involved, there seems to be some level of success. You see that with the Packers. You see that kind of with the Vikings as another example. Robert Kraft was kind of that way for a long time, too.
I mean, I think one of the bigger things, honestly, is that you also got to look at it as like we look at it from the fans' perspective of like, oh, it would be so smart of our team to just do bad so they can get the high pick. But if you look at all the players and the coaches, that's their job. They don't want to do bad at their job because then they're just gonna get fired and don't have their job anymore. So they're gonna keep fighting no matter what.
And that's part of the problem too. Is some of these coaches we don't know about Antonio Pierce yet for the Raiders, but if he does seem to be kept around, then he's going to be fighting absolutely for his job next season. And Brian Dable might be doing the same. And who knows? Brian Callahan, I know he's new to the Titans, but the same thing could be happening to him. You just never know.
Yeah.
And usually, when you're fighting for your job, you don't want to try and have to raise up a new quarterback. I think that was part of what Matt Eberflus had been hoping somewhat to do, but the expectation was is you've got to develop Caleb Williams, and he couldn't do that.
All right, let's move on though.
Yeah, good conversation, good stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
The Colts. Let's just keep this one pretty simple. Do they keep Anthony Richardson this year?
I think they give him
Yes.
another year because this quarterback draft is weak.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
Let-
would.
and they
yeah, keep him, ride his rookie contract, and then see what he does.
Yep.
yeah.
Because
I will never.
they finished
Yeah,
7-9, so they don't even have a high pick to even grab a good quarterback.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and I think honestly he has still a chance. Like I didn't like some of what I saw from him this year, but I'm not willing to write him off quite yet.
Right.
Yeah.
He's in his third year. He was injured most of his rookie year. He was injured some of this year, so try it again. If it doesn't work, you're not wasting much.
Yeah.
Should we
Yeah.
get should we get real messy and talk about the Cowboys?
I'm ready.
Mike
Cowboys
McCarthy.
Cue the music. Cue the sound.
Interesting that at the same time you said suck, I said Mike McCarthy. Do you think those two things are related?
Yes.
And yet it seems like they're going to keep him around.
Like, yeah, they're gonna have to keep him around because not to knock on his character at all, but he's kind of a pushover.
Yeah.
I feel like they keep expecting things out of him that we haven't seen from him.
Right? They're like,
Not
just
in a
wait till
while.
we're healthy. Just wait till we don't have people injured. Just
Yeah.
wait. It's like, cool. Like, when is that gonna happen?
I mean, Dak isn't doing it. CeeDee Lamb is great. Micah Parsons is great, but it's going to be more of a how long do those guys stick around?
Right. Micah Parsons, I think he's gone in the offseason. I don't know what his contract is right now, but from the last couple of games, the way he acts at the end of the game, I think he's done. I think he's over
Yeah.
with the Cowboys. Plus,
Yeah.
he'd be an enormous help anywhere he goes.
Yeah.
So I think this year is yeah, so the Cowboys picked up his 5th-year option, so he's under contract with them for the rest of this year.
All
The
right.
rest of 2025, meaning, so 2025,
Yeah.
2026, and then he'll be gone.
Well, someone could just take him and eat the money.
True.
Yeah,
Which,
but it's
couple
always risky because it's going to
teams-
be you sign it, or you pick him up, and he immediately wants a new contract.
but would that be a bad thing? At least for him.
Some teams
deal-wise.
don't like that. Some teams want to
Yeah.
either get them in a free agency or have them for a year or two, see how they do, and then sign them to a longer contract.
Yeah.
So let me ask you guys this. Like the Jets, is this a situation where we need to get rid of we need to get rid of, I won't even say players, I'll say people, get rid of people? Or is this a situation where we need to add people?
Well, you can't
You need
really
to get rid of
of
Jerry
anybody.
Jones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't get rid of any players right now just because there either is a lot of big money contracts that you did in the last couple of years, or it's like it's not really the player's fault. I think it's the decisions of the game, so it's kind of falls on Mike McCarthy.
Right.
But
All right,
Yeah.
let's speed through these next ones because we're hitting the top of our hour.
Giants.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
We'll move on to the Giants. Desperate for QB. Cool.
It's
And
still the
then,
biggest mess in football. That's what I put on my document is
Right.
how does the biggest mess in football get resolved? But the answer to that is it doesn't get resolved in this first year.
Yeah.
I think
It's-
Dable's fine, but they need to rebuild that team.
right, it's a giant problem, and they have
Uh,
to handle it.
Honestly, at the end of the day, the whole drafting Daniel Jones and then moving on from Saquon set them back light years.
Yes, it
Yep.
did.
At least a decade.
Yeah.
From being competitive.
Yes.
So
And forget contending, not just competitive, contending. Forget
Yeah.
contending.
Yeah.
All right. Bears.
Gunner's.
Biggest thing we got to talk about here is what coach comes in to help Caleb Williams take the next step forward.
I think that coach needs to be accompanied with, like you said earlier, offensive line.
Yes, for sure.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
And
but I also think it's more than just the offensive line they have to focus on. I think they really need to focus on Caleb Williams and not really to develop him, but develop him mentally. Like he needs to be better between the ears.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying like his play decisions. I'm talking about he needs to stop trying to be an icon and be a dang quarterback.
Yep.
Stop trying to make the headlines. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think you're right. Although I do believe that this poor year kind of helped him. It humbled him a little bit, so maybe he's not going to do that.
You would think so. But look at his last year of college football.
His
and
last
he still came in
2
looking
years
like this.
of college football.
Well, that first year, the last 2 years, if we're talking about the last 2 years, obviously one of them he won the Heisman. Kind of hard to knock you down when you win the Heisman. But that other year, his last year of eligibility, the narrative always was it was never about Caleb Williams, I think, that last year of college. But he tried to make it about him because he was like, my team's not playing well. But, of course, the narrative was the defense is doing bad. But the narrative also that year with his last year of eligibility was, one, the Pac-12 is dying. And two, and two, you had teams like Oregon and Washington that were playing at elite levels. Which is interesting to see because obviously that's Michael Penix and Bo Nix's teams that are now, here.
Doing well.
Right.
That's just one other interesting element to it.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens there. It definitely needs to be a good court. Can I talk? Good coach who is offensively minded. So if that is somehow Pete Carroll, great, more power to him. But it can't be someone who's a pushover. And at the end of the day, just wrapping up the thing with the Bears, I've said it before, I'll say it again. The coach that usually gets hired by the Bears is a pushover because the McCaskies don't want to be told what to do.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And I guess we can move on to the next one that's kind of a hot topic right now. The Niners.
This one's tough because of Brock Purdy's contract. Do you guys believe that Brock Purdy will not get the big money?
No.
Now that with how the season has gone.
He deserves between 30 and 40 a year.
I think he'll get a good contract, but I think this works out for the 49ers because of who they draft.
Yeah. I think they have to pay him. Like, they can't gamble on another person. He has been capable. Yes, it was a rough year with all the injuries, him dealing with all contracts and stuff. Like, if anyone needs to go, it's he really messed up the locker room, and I'm shocked that they kept him around. But I think with the Niners, pay Brock Purdy right in the middle, $35 million a year for the next 4 years. He probably won't complain. Like, that's good money for a quarterback that had a slump year. Pay him. Don't worry about it, and then worry about protecting him, worrying about giving him another weapon, and then maybe kind of fill a couple holes in defense, and you're back to a championship team.
And Purdy doesn't strike me as a diva quarterback. He never has. I think more with his situation, he's just happy to be there. So he'll take what he can get. You know what I mean?
I could see him playing the Tom Brady card. He's gonna have enough to make him feel like the last 3 years it's like a thank you. Hey, thanks for doing what you've done so far. We want you to stay for the next few years. That's what they need to do. And I think he probably knows if he takes that huge contract, they're toast for the next couple of years. But if he can take the middle ground and not ask for the max, just stick with a competitive team. Play to win. Don't play to get as much money as you need.
Yeah. And another thing to add with that too, though, and this does echo what you were saying, Matt. Either Debo or Ayuk, one of them needs to go.
Yeah.
Because look, we saw in the game against the Lions, Ricky Pearsall is a good wide receiver, and
Yes.
he's on a rookie contract. I'm not so much worried for the Niners about their offensive weapons. I think they're fine. I think the next thing that they got to do is there's actually a big rumor that Trent Williams is going to retire, which means they've got to beef up the O-line once
They
they
have
take her.
a big hole is gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, you got to
So-
look at your defense. Is Nick Bosa going to stay around? Is Warner going to stay around?
Mhm.
What's going to happen?
Yeah.
I think I'd rather see Debo stay.
Yep, me too.
Yeah, for sure.
100%. Ayuk, I feel like he's a damn diva. Just get him out. The way
Yep.
he acted in the offseason with all of his
Yeah.
tweets and all of his social media crap, honestly, I wouldn't have told him, okay, you can walk by. Wouldn't even given him money. Like, it's just a waste.
I
And if
still,
season
man-
proves anything,
I still want him to find a way to go to Washington.
yeah.
I was telling Tyler about this today after the Peach Bowl. As an Arizona State fan, I'd love nothing more than to see the Washington Commanders with Jaden Daniels, Brandon Ayuk, and Cam Scadaboo as a team. I think that
Yeah.
just 3 ASU boys all there.
Yeah. But that's their main problem. Keep
Yeah.
Shanahan. I think it's a slump year. They had tons of injuries to key players. It sucked. Don't fire Shanahan. Pay Purdy a decent money and move on.
Yep. I agree 100%.
So Arizona Cardinals is the one that we haven't really covered yet. We've already talked about the Saints, Falcons. So I guess we
True.
can wrap it up with the Cardinals.
Yeah,
Um,
Panthers, we kind of same thing too. We said they'll probably keep
Yeah.
Bryce Young. The ship still needs fixing, but Arizona's not one we've talked. We have
No,
not
at all.
chatted much about them. Yeah,
Right. And I think with these guys, obviously it's a hard franchise to get behind, but I think you saw flashes of Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr., where I think maybe you might want to make a coaching change and maybe look at, again, like the common problem with everyone else, getting a little bit more protection for Kyler Murray, and then maybe do something on defense, get like a big player. Like, it would be crazy if Micah Parsons left and went to Arizona.
Ooh, that'd be interesting.
yeah,
The edge rusher kind of bolster, like, go, because that's the only team realistically that probably could pay him at this point. But
Yeah.
bolster that defense up to alleviate the offense, and then maybe, some good
That'd be
offensive
interesting.
linemen, or maybe get like a kind of like a dual threat running back. So it's he's running back, but then if Curry wants to run, or Kyler Murray wants to run, let him run. Have him be like a receiver option on that play or something. Or
you jumped into basketball there for a hot second. I like that.
I did.
Chef Curry in the house.
Right. But yeah, so I think that would be the best option for the Cardinals right now. I feel like you have really good pieces. You're just missing maybe one or two.
Yeah, they're on the cusp.
And not only is it one or two, it has to be impactful one or two.
Right.
Yeah.
A big
And I
splash.
think you're right. I think I'd rather see it on the defensive side too.
Yeah.
And I think they've got the cap space that they could pick up a couple big defensive names that would really make a difference, and they could become one of these defensive powers. Because I think we're seeing that. Obviously, I think the Chiefs are showing it. Our problems are all with the Chiefs' offense, but their defense is what's carrying them. Broncos, similar situation. I feel like we're seeing all these defensive-minded teams are doing well, and that's making the big difference. And I think if they're smart, they'll say, hey, we've got some young talent. We've
Yeah.
got some players who could do well on offense. Let's get a defense that's going to put them back on the field and see what they can do.
And I guess we can wrap it up with this comment at the end. But so I just barely looked at the cap space for 2025. Arizona has 87 million.
Dang.
Yeah,
in
they
cap
can do
space.
stuff.
And
Yep.
what I really like seeing, which isn't a shock, but New England has 132 million in cap space.
Man.
That's going to be awesome.
Like, if they don't make some moves, like, what are you doing?
Yeah, with that money, holy cow.
That's stupid money. The next person closest to them is Vegas and Washington. They're in
I
the
can't believe-
100,000 range.
Washington's in a good spot if they've got that much cap space.
Yeah,
That's
like
impressive.
Mike McKay was saying, why not get Ayuk? Have
Yeah.
all these players that kind of play together a little bit, have them all in there, like. So, but, and then the Bears, we will mention they have 81.
Yeah. Well,
The
and then, but
Bears.
that 81 million is not going to be used for someone like Keenan Allen. They're going to move on
Yeah.
from him, but maybe it's to get quality offensive line.
Yeah. The only team that we talked about recently that have cap space issues are actually not that bad. It's San Francisco at 66 million.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
They're
that's
going to have
not
to downgrade.
awful. Granted, half of that's going to go to Purdy, so you're about 30 million. But you could be worse. You could be in the negative 78 million for next year.
Saints.
Yep.
Yep.
So,
I knew.
sorry, I know we moved on from the 49ers. Potentially controversial thought I just had. Do they free up cap space and get rid of McCaffrey?
No.
No.
No. Might be a bad idea.
All right. Let's.
Despite his last 3 seasons. Sorry. Just
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll see.
I don't know.
Ayuk first. Then I'll be
Yeah.
okay with
I do
McCaffrey
both.
after that.
I don't know.
Oh
I don't know.
McCaffrey, when he's healthy, he's a game changer. Ayuk,
But he's
not so
never
much.
healthy.
And this is the first year where he hasn't been with the 49ers.
He wasn't healthy last year. He was out.
He was great. He was an MVP candidate last year.
I know, but he was still injured for at least 3 or 4 games, I want to say. And he was still an MVP candidate despite that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like don't get rid of him because no one wants him. He's damaged goods, so you might as well use him for his last year or 2 on his contract. Just pay him, stick with him, try to get him healthy or relieve him somehow.
And
but
they just paid him. So
yeah, you don't want to get rid of him and eat money at this point. Just keep him.
That's fair. That's fair.
He's a good
All right.
threat.
All right. Let's.
I get it. Controversial, but we're going to let you know there's no way.
Let's blitz through these last 3 because we are way over time.
Oh, we already talked. We're already
Yeah.
Oh,
shooting.
Yeah.
cool. Cool.
Yeah, we're shooting those in the head. We already talked about him, but I think it's gonna be promising. I'm looking forward to the rest of the season and the off season because I'm not looking forward to the Super Bowl, depending on who it is. But
I think we're gonna be happy with it.
I'm not.
Are we all good?
I think so.
We
Yeah.
are
All
good.
right, we will see you guys next time when we will discuss the playoff picture.
Probably fun.